Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 980A, and today's date is May 25th, 2016, and the title of the episode is Confirm the Entire Economic System is One Big Manipulation. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we have been seeing a lot of manipulation here in the United States, and every time job numbers come out, GDP numbers come out, housing numbers come out, retail numbers that come out, manufacturing, all the different numbers, we dive into them and we find out that, yes, these are completely manipulated. And then we have Europe. And Europe continually is trying to convince the world that everything is fine, unemployment is holding steady, things are going okay. But when we look at the situation in Europe, we realize right now that in Greece, let's take that for instance, their unemployment is at 24%. And it's above 20% in Spain, in France, in Italy. And we see, well, Italy is around 10%. Spain and France is 20%. And it really has been stuck at those levels for many, many years. And these are terrible numbers. And you might think, okay, they're able to keep these numbers down and steady, and they're trying to convince us that, see, look what we've done. We've kept the unemployment rate steady. Things are improving. But these numbers are just as manipulated as the United States numbers. And we've come to find out, and it is now confirmed, that these official statistics only capture people who are actively looking for work. There are millions of people who would like to work if there were jobs. The Eurostat just revealed statistics that show a hidden army of underemployed and discouraged workers. They'd be putting in more hours if it was possible. What the figures reveal is how dramatically most of the Eurozone is failing to create enough work for its people. Not really surprised about this. It reports that 44 million people in the EU are working part-time, 20% of the total, and more important, many of them would rather be working more hours. In Greece, for example, 72% of part-time workers would like more hours because it's not enough to get by. And guess what? They can't give them more hours. Actually, many of these people would like to have a full-time job. And we're seeing discouraged workers, and those people who just can't find work, they love to work, but they get discouraged, they continually look, they can't find anything. It's all the people here in the United States who have fallen off the job market. That's what the Fed, the United States government, calls them here in the States. Out in the EU, they call them discouraged workers. And these people would like to have a job. And what happens is every single month, there are more and more of these people that fit into this category, and they're just not counted. So what we're seeing right now is that this entire system, that they continually tell us that everything is fine, everything is under control, it is one gigantic manipulation. All the private Western Central Bank countries are following the same formula. Lie to the people, manipulated the information. That's exactly what they're doing. Now, here in the States, we know there's a lot of people that are out of work, that would love to work, but they just can't find a job. People put out their resume. They don't get any response from the employers. Some people say there's no place to even send the resume. There's no jobs out there. And those people that are finishing up school, colleges, they have a lot of debt. They can't find jobs, so they're living with their parents. And what we've learned is that, according to Pew Research Center, 32.1% of all millennials are living with their parents now, which is more than any time since the Great Depression. Well, is this a recovery? No. And it's not just the United States that's facing this issue. What we're seeing, this is happening across the globe in all the private Western Central Bank countries. And we see out in Europe, 48.1%, they live with their parents. And this is in the 28-member nation of the European Union. So it's not just here in the United States, it's wherever the private Western central bank system is implemented. Actually, if you look at Iceland, they're working. They put their bankers in jail. They're taking control of the creation of their currency. Their economy is booming, but nobody wants you to know about that. Here in the United States, it's falling apart. It's collapsing. And we get information from more corporations that they will be laying off people. Shell is cutting about 2,200 more jobs, bringing their total up to 12,500. Microsoft is saying that they're going to be cutting about 1,850 jobs from their phone unit charge. Intel is cutting 300 to 350 jobs in Germany. And this is continually ongoing. More and more companies are going to be laying off people. That means more and more people are going to go into that discouraged pile or the fallen off pile, and they're just not going to be counted. And they're going to tell us that the economies are doing well, unemployment is holding steady. Actually, unemployment is dropping. And it's very easy to manipulate all these numbers. All you have to do is, hey, let's not count these couple million. And look, we have unemployment at 4.5%. Is it real? No. It's manipulated. It's an illusion. And we know the truth because we can see it throughout retail. If all these people were working and had these nice jobs, retail would not be contracting. I know a lot of people out there think the opposite. I don't know why. They try to argue this point that it's all online sales. No, it's not. Online sales do not support the decline of the brick and mortar. It just doesn't, it's not there. What's happening is the people don't have the funds. They're not working. Tiffany, they're reporting a decline in sales, 9% in the first quarter. They thought it was only going to be a decline of 4.6%. It was almost double of what they expected. So we're seeing stores like JCPenney, Sears, Macy's, Target, Gap, Old Navy, Tiffany, and many others. Sales are declining, and they're going to continually decline because when we look at the economy and we look at what's really going on here, not the manipulation, you can put the pieces together. It's using common sense. People aren't working, not making the money. They're not going to purchase in retail. They're not going to be purchasing online. Remember, all these stores have online websites. It's not just going to happen. And I'm hearing from many people who own their own businesses, who are working for businesses saying, yes, business is starting to slow. We're not getting the same business that we once had. And people are scratching their heads saying, I don't understand why. The economy's doing well. The stock market's soaring. It makes no sense. But we see manufacturing declining. We see retail declining. And of course, the corporate media, the U.S. government, they like to say, well, that doesn't matter anymore. Manufacturing doesn't matter. Retail doesn't matter. Housing doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore except for stocks and the bubbles that we're creating. Only look in these areas. The service economy, where they said, the United States is a service-oriented country. It's not a manufacturing country anymore. Well, if it's a service-oriented country, retail is contracting. The restaurants are starting to contract. And now we're starting to see that the service economy, it has tumbled back to 3-month lows. They missed expectations by the most on record. And we're seeing a very slow pace of hiring. Business optimism has plunged to record lows. And the service sector firms, they're not forecasting a rise in business activity anytime soon. Actually, right now, the survey, when it was taken, says this is the worst since 2009. Very interesting. But they continually tell us that everything is fine. The Baltic Dry Index has fallen to 605 points, down 13 points. And we do have proof that the economy is not doing what it is doing. And all we have to do is look at the tax revenue per state. And what we're seeing, and these are the 32 U.S. states that have provided this information, personal income tax revenue fell by an average of 9.88% compared to the same month last year. What does that tell you? Well, people don't have jobs, and if they do have a job, they're low-quality part-time work. So people are making less, and people are not working. This is a confirmation that everything that we've been looking at is absolutely true. Actually, when you look at it, the Obama administration, the president, he's peddling fiction to the American people. Not the people who are looking at the real facts. And as we move forward into this year, do you really think that everything is just going to turn around and get better with the snap of a finger? Of course it isn't. It's impossible because we've been watching the trend. It's all down. It's all imploding. And it's just going to get worse as time goes on. It's not going to get better. But the U.S. government central bankers, they really don't care about that because they're getting ready to blame this on other groups or other countries. They're not going to take the blame. They're not going to come out and say, hey, listen, yeah, I know what's going on here. We're sorry about this. You know, all that time where we said, the economy was improving? Well, we lied. It was actually declining. But we really didn't want you to know this because we didn't want things to rapidly fall apart. No, what they're going to do is they're going to say the economy was improving. It was fantastic until someone hit the financial institutions, brought the economy to its knees. Now, China is starting to realize what is going on here, and they just fired another shot, and they devalued the yuan. And we see that it's at its weakest point since March of 2011. And this right now is currency wars. This is what we're seeing, where each country is saying, okay, no, I'm going to lower my currency value and make it more and more difficult for the U.S. and make it better for them. And as time goes on, this entire situation that we're looking at, everything that we've been seeing, all the economic indicators, all the facts point to one thing and one thing only. You can pretend that charts don't matter. You can pretend that this data is meaningless. You can do that. But when this system falls, it's going to fall hard. I mean, people were pretending back in 2008 that everything was fine. That, Peter Schiff, I remember watching him when all the economists were around him, and he was telling everyone that we're going to have a real estate problem. We're going to have a subprime problem. And the economists around him were actually screaming at him, yelling at him that this is absolutely ridiculous. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The economy's strong. The Fed has confirmed that they've contained everything, that housing is not going to go down. The stock market won't fall. And after that interview, a couple months later, the whole thing just fell apart. Well, we're going to see the same thing happen once again because we are mirroring what happened back in 2008, but this time it is much, much worse. It's not better. Actually, they've made it a lot more worse by creating these illusions, by creating these bubbles, by convincing everyone that everything is fine, when the underlying indicators are showing the opposite of what's really going on here. And this is going to be a complete disaster when everything starts to fall apart. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.